either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Oh, fudge. It's another holiday season of cheer, family drama, embracing husband's interests, and me reminding you that this movie makes me want to shoot my eyes out.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. I'm Nico.
And I'm Chris. We're watching my husband's favorite.
I know. We chose this one because we're kind of tired of Christmas movies.
And while this is his own personal words, not mine, not his ultimate favorite, but a damn good movie.
Yeah, sure. we're doing a
Christmas story.
Yeah. So
it is a lot of people's favorite. It is ranked the number one most classical Christmas movie. So, I get it. At some point, we were going to have to talk about this one.
Yeah.
Even if you actively dislike this film, and I just kind of sort of like it.
The first time I ever watched A Christmas Story in its entirety, I'd seen it in pieces growing up.
Sure.
Was when we were having a Friendsgiving and your husband's family came over.
It is their favorite.
And that's what we watched was A Christmas Story. That was the first time I'd ever watched. And that was probably a year or two before we started this podcast. So.
I think so, yeah. No, this is very high up on their list of, must watch for the season.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and it is a tradition for a lot of people. It's been actively shown on air for longer than most of us have been alive. So, it has been replayed every Christmas since 1985, and it has been 24/7 streaming on certain Christmas days from 1997. So, there's been enough time for just about everyone to have seen this movie a couple of times.
Or at least parts of it to know how iconic it is.
Exactly.
Everyone knows you'll shoot your eyes out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And granted, I see why a lot of people like this one. I get why it's also not a thing that you like, and we'll get into that.
Yeah. So it's based on Gene Shepard's novel, In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash, with screenplay by Shepard, Leigh Brown, and Bob Clark, directed by Clark, starring Peter Billingsley as Ralphie May.
Absolutely.
Sorry, not Ralphie May, that's a comedian.
Yeah.
Ralphie Parker.
Yeah.
Darren McGavin as the old man Parker.
Mm-hmm.
And Melinda Dillon as Mother Parker.
Yeah, a classic choice, really.
Yes, and it follows the Parker family through a series of vignettes that explore Christmas and other aspects of classic American life around the 30s and early 40s.
And while I know in the commentary that we watched, the director claims that this is set sometime in the 30s and 40s, most people have agreed that this movie probably was meant to originally have been set in exactly 1940.
Yeah.
Because of a couple of the things that we'll talk about.
Yeah, because either way, whichever era it's set in, they're either doing really great for the Great Depression or doing well for World War II.
Yeah, that was something that I did want to bring up, is let's say that this is the 1940s, and I know the director says, oh, it's 30s and 40s. He says that because there is some inconsistencies. The thing this movie runs off is nostalgia.
Yes.
The 40s is maybe the most iconic year of random-ass shit that Americans love and hold dear. Bugs Bunny came out. McDonald's was the first McDonald's was opened. Pinocchio was released by Disney along with Fantasia the same year. The first Social Security check was paid out. The first issue of Batman was released. The Great Dictator with Charlie Chaplin in it was popular. Hattie McDaniel was the first American to win the Academy Award for Gone with the Wind that year.
Another boring as shit movie.
But they loved it! Winston Churchill became Prime Minister and also a classic. And as this movie suggests, the Red Ryder BB gun pull-action lever was introduced, becoming the most popular Christmas gift with over 9 million units sold. We'll get into the exact model later in the story, but that was a real thing. It wasn't the best year, though. World War II was looming, there had been a terrorist bombing at the New York World's Fair, and there was unfortunately a fire that killed a lot of people in a nightclub that really impacted a lot. But economically, we're doing better than the Great Depression, so, you have the money to buy all this cool new stuff that's getting put out. We also had the most entertainment that had been developed in a long-ass time. And so, from a nostalgia standpoint, 1940, was the year to establish an American tradition.
Yeah.
And that's why this movie is the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, we are closely approaching, getting much closer to 100 years from when this movie was set, so...
Yeah, and on top of that, while this movie might be set in the 40s, came out in 1983. Another pinnacle set of years that really established a lot of fandom, cultural, and nostalgia practices for the general American populace.
Well, I mean, that's something, I forget who it was a Canadian YouTuber I was watching for a little bit. I can't remember his name. He brought up that most of our pop culture is within the last 100 years, so...
It really is, and a lot of that comes down to the fact that stuff was made in the 40s, passed down to their grandchildren, and then by the 80s it was nostalgic and able to be reproduced in a new format, i.e. this movie.
Yeah.
And thus, traditions began, and that is the main plot line, honestly, of this movie, is nostalgia for a time long gone. And those times are both the 40s, for the much older crowd, and the 80s, for our parents, who then made us watch it, and now we just watch it because we watch it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
But also, on top of this being based on In God We Trust, All Others Must Pay Cash, it's based on, a few of these are based on a collection of stories from Shepard's college tours. And before we get really into it, our sources for today's episode include commentary by Peter Billingsley and director and co-writer Bob Clark, as well as a handful of special features from the anniversary DVD. But the most interesting thing I have found out from this movie is, in a weird turn of events, the reason we have this version of A Christmas Story is because of how much Porky's was despised.
Yes, it was.
Which I am now interested to do a dive into Clark's career at some point, because his first movie was She-Man, A Story of Fixation in 1967.
Yeah.
At IMDb describes as, a soldier is forced to take estrogen and wear lingerie when he's blackmailed by a violent transvestite.
Okay, that's a hell of a plot line.
He went on to make a evil children killing movie called Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, which is fun, stupid.
That's a silly name, I like it.
As well as the Christmas classic horror flick, Black Christmas.
Yeah.
And then went on to do Baby Geniuses down the line.
God, I don't like Baby Geniuses.
No.
Yeah.
This is all the same director.
No, I know, and honestly that does make a lot of sense, because I have read Gene Shepard, and I like his books. It fits in with a lot of the other humor writings that I also like. I like the time period. I like that he wrote. He was mostly a 60s and 70s writer. He's got a style that I'm very familiar with. I read a lot of other authors who are similar to him in the way they narrate things, in the way it's a fictitious memory, it's a lot of tall tales. I like that sort of writing. But you can really see where the original inspiration stops and Bob Clark begins in this film.
Yeah, I don't know too much of his writings. I tried listening to the couple little radio bits they had on the special features on the DVD, and I just couldn't get into it.
Again, I don't think the writing is for everyone, but it is a specific genre of writing, and I think it is the combination of the stupidity of Bob Clark's general style, plus the storytelling devices that Shepard introduced, that kind of bring this movie together for a lot of people. Yeah,
we'll see how it brings it together. I got some choice thoughts on that.
I know you do.
But also, something that surprised me too is that, more so than Clark's directing career, is that this is actually the third movie in the Parker family saga, with The Phantom of the Open Hearth in 1976 and The Great American 4th of July and Other Disasters in 1982. And I have never heard anyone who loves this movie, or this type of movie in general, ever talk about the first two movies that came before.
I will say that I have heard people talk about the world of this, and how, oh yeah, there's others, isn't that fun? But much in the same way that Star Wars fans refuse to acknowledge the Christmas special.
Oh, the Christmas special. I love the Star Wars Christmas special, partially because I get what it was trying to do.
I do too.
I love that they tried doing a space-themed variety show. it is just so bizarre because you have one movie that you based an entire variety show off of that doesn't really explain much of the world to begin with.
And it completely goes off the rails for all of the lore that had been built and then was built later because they were just like, no, we're ignoring this.
Oh, and the makeup work is just...
Well,
horrible. If I noticed your makeup's bad, it's bad.
Yeah. These other two movies, while not as bad as that one, they're not good movies. Honestly, they lack a lot of the charm that, honestly, I think a lot of the Shepard writings come through in this one better. Having it a little bit more heavily handed on a singular book with elements of a few of his other works, as opposed to a lot of his other works just kind of thrown together for these other time frames. They just don't hold up, and honestly, if I was you, I wouldn't bother. Won't lie.
I didn't bother because I had no desire after watching this one a couple times.
Yeah, I agree with you. They weren't the worst movies I've seen this week, but that bar is really low, so...
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting up on the 12 rom-coms of Christmas, so yeah, that's...
And I'm going through Tubi's horror selection, so, like, the bar is on the ground. Maybe below it, depending on which movie I'm watching.
There's some hidden gems in Tubi.
I know, that's what I'm searching for. I haven't found one yet. But, like, they're not the worst movies. I see why we made it to 3. But I also cannot say with my whole chest, like, yeah, you need to go see the other 2. This is the only one. Don't worry about the others.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So, before we dive into it, Chris, what are we drinking today?
We have a delightful Christmas blend of
Jack Daniel's honey punch or an apple punch whiskey or whatever.
Sure.
Just to distract us from the torture that is about to ensue.
It feels like something the old man would drink for Christmas.
Very much so.
Cheers. That is so sweet. I like it. It's alright.
It's only 15%.
Yeah,
so
that's alright.
It's something that'll warm the belly and...
Yeah, that you could get through a whole bottle of that pretty quickly.
Ease the lips.
Yeah, seriously.
So, A Christmas Story. As much as I will complain about this movie, I think that the intro does a solid look back at a classic Americana and the childish obsession with the days of Christmas, or the days leading up to Christmas. I think it does a decent enough job with that, as well as setting up the glitz and glamour of the classic Christmas glitter of downtown Homan, which is actually shot in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
While the interiors are done in Toronto.
Which, honestly, because of that, this film was nominated for a few awards because it was partially filmed in Canada. It won. So, like, this is also not just an American tradition, but according to my friends in Canada, they also partake in this movie around this time of year.
There is some overlap between our Christmases, at least.
Yeah, so I appreciate we can share in this. That's fun.
But oddly enough, too, this movie was filmed post-Christmas and came out after Christmas, so...
But I kind of see filming this after Christmas, because if you want the Christmas cold look, you need to not film at Christmas. Because it's usually not quite cold and snowy enough.
Depends where you're at.
It does depend on where you're at, and granted, they filmed some of this in Canada, so I'm sure if they really wanted to, they could turn around and there'd be snow.
Yeah, Alaska, where at least where I was, we usually had snow by Halloween, so a foot or two at least.
But I don't know. I don't really care that this movie came out at an odd time, and apparently no one else did either. This movie didn't have the biggest budget, but it made all of its money and some back on first release. It got mild critiques, but
it
overall
did well,
positive.
It did well on home video.
It did great on home video.
That is something that I'm realizing is a lot of these classics that we love usually don't do well in theaters. It's that cult classic following you get from your child or someone obsessively watching it on VHS or DVD back in the day.
Oh no, absolutely. But where this movie actually made most of its money was being shown on air. Like I said, 1980, I think 85, is the first time this got picked up on TV, and it played continuously every Christmas until this day. There are multiple channels that then picked up the same license and played nothing but this movie 24/7 for nearly a month. They've since toned it down. I believe it's now a 24-hour nonstop marathon on at least 2 different channels that I could find.
Well, I mean, when you have 500 channels, you can spare a couple for this.
This was...
Dribble?
I mean, at one point, yes. However, the non-stop TV marathon of this did start in 1997. So a little bit before the endless thousands of channels.
Yeah.
We only had a couple hundred.
Depends.
Depending on who you were and what size of antenna you had.
Yeah.
But, no, like, this movie... But it didn't do poorly for being released post-Christmas.
No.
Like, I mean, it made all its money back. So... Clearly, it still had the charm.
Even if it makes its money back from a Hollywood standpoint, that is a flop.
That's true. They would like to see groundbreaking numbers.
Exactly. But with this opening, I do have some I do not necessary questions for you. I do wonder if, since going back and rewatching this, if like the Santa Claus with Tim Allen that you hate,
I do hate,
pulled off this little bit as well, because it, like, the way the children are looking through the toys, it kind of reminds me of that same opening of where like the elves are scouting.
I'm glad you noticed this, because yes, this movie did start a couple of trends. It was by no means the first movie to do these trends, but it was arguably the most impactful to do these. So having this sort of Christmas look and nailing it, where it's like, this is like, it's vaguely romanticized 40s, vaguely romanticized 30s, but thus translates across time.
Consumerism. Consume toys.
No. Consumerism for Christmas then makes its way into almost all of the rest of our Christmas films past the 80s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hell, even look at...
I mean, even the second Home Alone film shown in New York has a huge scene that kind of centers around this idea.
Yeah, a Toy House, Home Alone 1 has the BB gun, which is kind of like the Red Rider, and then also Jingle All the Way is about finding toys for Chris, or getting Turbo Man for Christmas.
Whereas a lot of Christmas films pre-80s, and especially set a little bit before the 40s, which is why I think this one is a solidly 40s, not 30s. They tend to focus a little bit more on being a good person, finding love, finding the purpose and meaning in life, or snowed in and having a good old time singing and dancing.
Yeah.
But the other thing that this movie managed to do is, I'm glad you liked the narrator opening, because this movie also kind of kicked off this specific style of narrator, where we have someone reminiscing back on their own life a little bit, definitely an unreliable narrator in both their kid form in the movie and also their adult speaking narration voice. It ends up being used a lot in both dramas and comedies, but also on TV.
Yeah, I mean, hell, we saw it in The Sandlot, which we reviewed a year ago now.
Oh, yeah. No, it ended up being like a very successful way. This sort of narration pulls directly from the writing styles of Shepard, which is part of the reason why I like this, because that's the style of writing. That's what I like to read. It kind of ties together.
It's a good way to tie the different single micro stories that are in each and every vignette we're about to see.
Yes, exactly.
But I also appreciate, like, it's charming enough seeing the children going through the window. There's that nice little music cue about the fascination with the rifle. I mean, granted, the toys and stuff are a bit dated, but it still makes me remember of, like, when I was a kid shopping through the Fifth Avenue wall, at least window shopping, and then just, like, flipping through magazines for the most part of, like, which also at the same time makes me a little bit sad, because it feels like with the modern conveniences we have, that the holidays are kind of have lost their charm. And maybe that's why I become a little bit of a curmudgeon, is it feels less and less special unless I make it special. Whereas like in the past, it felt like everything around you was making it special because it was that time of year to do it.
Well, and that is part of why some people really like this film for as long as they have. They like the magic of watching Ralphie as a kid and the magic he had, and then as an adult they like watching and seeing where the parents are the ones pulling together some real silliness to end up making these Christmas memories that they have something similar to pull from. Not everyone has a dad with a lamp shaped like a leg, but a lot of people probably do have the similar story of dad doing something a little bit silly around Christmas and risking it.
Yeah, something that's become quite iconic now of just some American stupidity, and every dad's had that interest in one thing that no one gets why they're interested in it.
Exactly. Though, something to note is there are a lot more people like you who are not seeing the magic in this movie, and I do think part of that is because the way Christmas looks now, and especially for people our age, I think we were kind of the last generation to window shop like this for Christmas. to like mall Santa this same way. I know a lot of people our age with kids are attempting to bring that back, but I do think there's a couple decades in between those kids and us that this wasn't really a thing for a variety of reasons. Magazines weren't a thing, window shopping and malls really kind of died out.
Yeah.
Downtown plazas and even small towns don't usually have toy stores anymore. Most of them are dead. So the way Christmas looked was commercials, sharing things with your friends at school, like what you like. They didn't really look like this.
Yeah, now it's just, hey, send me your Amazon link of what you're interested in.
Exactly. So there more and more people are in the same boat as you. They don't see it. They don't have the nostalgia like that represents or looks like this.
Yeah, and that's where like the parts of this movie I can see the charm too, especially with when Ralphie is trying to use his childhood logic to hint to his parents what he wants of, his mom's flipping through her magazine and what's this? The Red Ryder advertisement that's completely out of place and whatever. I want to say women's life, but I know that's not it.
No, yeah, essentially. This did also crack our family up as owners of the Red Ryder BB gun. My mother received it for Christmas as a youth, and it has been lovingly passed down throughout. It's still at her house because I refuse to take it. I don't have anywhere to put it right now, Mom, I promise. Someday.
This is the most Midwest thing I have ever heard you say about a holiday, outside of like marshmallow jello pudding thing.
Those are all, yeah, we had that for Thanksgiving. But anyway, something that does crack some of us up is this Red Ryder nowadays, it's not really a thing as popular as it used to be, right?
Yeah.
Like, people still get them, you can still get BB guns, they're still a popular enough gift, depending on the demographic. But I don't think people recognize that this Red Ryder is so made up for this movie that it's essentially like an action figure who shoots lasers from his eyes.
Yeah, Turbo Man.
It's Turbo Man.
Yeah,
but Red Ryder.
Well, and I think it's interesting. I did think about trying to go to the Red Ryder BB gun museum because we do
have one near us.
Yes, well, we have the one near us. Like the head manufacturing company is by us. I live like 15 minutes from it. I've never gone.
We do need to go. I will say that after some clarifying research, it is not the original one. At the time, these would have been made, I think, in Illinois. They have since moved, and now they're made down the street from us. But and at one point we had, quote unquote, the world's largest BB gun in our town. I think it's since been removed. I don't remember seeing it on the square last time I was down there.
What is it, like a cannon that just like shoots a single little BB? Like it's one of those old school like Pirates of the Caribbean giant mortars that just like...
From reading the description on the website, I don't think it actually shoots anything. I think it's just like on the side of the building.
It's like the world's largest ball of twine that's just for...
I think it's mostly just for... Yeah. Because they claim that it would shoot like a certain size beach ball, but like obviously it doesn't because it's leaned up against the entire side of the building. But that was kind of a fun thing.
Yeah.
I do think it has since been moved though because I don't remember seeing it.
Okay.
Bummer.
Yeah, I have no clue. Another thing I will say with the writing of this movie is that this one sibling fight is that is the one relationship I think they do quite well is siblings where there is a obvious enough age gap where the little one wants to be like the older ones, but he's just too small enough to catch up.
I also appreciate that, especially watching this a couple times back to back, you can catch much better how the whole writing is done from Ralphie's point of view, as opposed to just having Ralphie narrate and think about his point of view. You can see where they've written for his mother to be overly doting to the baby, clearly something that an older kid would probably find annoying. That he overly writes his brother as extra annoying, even if in reality, sure, he may be a little annoying, but why stop there when you can really ham it up and have everyone in this world play into Ralphie's memory?
Yeah, I get that. It like you said, it does do a good job of building up those not necessarily artificial memories, but those a little bit exaggerated memories of your childhood, of the epic adventures you would have had.
And granted, as someone who likes the author's original writings, I like these over-exaggerated ones. His original writings are so over-exaggerated that he gets his own timelines messed up sometimes, claiming he has teachers after he said he's already been graduated for a while, having memories that clearly have to be fictitious, but they're fun, and they show a kind of an idea of a thing. This movie tries to be a little bit more, like, realistic with its timeline and writing, but I like that we did lean into the over-exaggeration of it.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, we see that with the neighborhood. I mean, it's very charming, even though if you know that they had to lay down the snow, it's not terrible for the most part.
We have seen worse looking snow.
Oh, we're going to be talking about worse looking snow next week. That's
This snow doesn't at least look like potatoes, so I'll give it that.
This one doesn't look like they're walking on a giant box that someone built.
That's true.
And also, like, when we go back in these memories, there's a lot of soft focus to make it feel like a little bit more beloved. And it's also with, like, the blurting out of the childish hints of, like, the child's overplaying of it. Like, when we were kids, not necessarily Christmas memory.
Sure.
But we told our parents, and my mom's very proud that we came up with this on our own.
Oh, okay.
It is a little bit sweet.
Mm-hmm.
We suggested that on, I think it was a Mother's Day or Father. We did this for probably a couple of those. If they could take us to Chuck E. Cheese, because we know how much they love to watch us play.
Oh, that is very good.
We were wrong. We gotta go to Chuck E. Cheese.
I mean, okay, that's very good. I was told Chuck E. Cheese was only for birthday parties, and you had to be invited. You couldn't, like, have your own birthday there.
Yeah.
Which, fair, Mom. I, like, that, as an adult, makes a lot of sense. But
no, I mean, it's still those childhood memories of
really worming your way into what you desire.
Yeah. Or like my mom or my brother and my dad. Like, I remember one time he called Christian into their bedroom, and I was listening from the balcony because we had a loft space that overlooked the first floor, and I heard my dad, like, whispering to Christian, maybe a little louder, but like, hey, get your jacket on. But don't tell Nico we're going to McDonald's, because my brother could not keep a secret, and so he burst out of my parents' room. Grab your jacket. We're going to McDonald's, or however he used to say it. I can't remember it, but yeah, it was just I get what this movie's trying to do with this memory of childhoodness.
And I do think in a lot of these side vignettes, it does manage to do that. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the memories with Ralphie's friends and at school are pretty solid. I think where, for a lot of us, it starts to get a little odd is the specific Christmas ones.
I don't think it's the Christmas ones. For me, it's a lot of the in-between, because this one is still very Christmassy.
It is incredibly Christmassy. It's
starting the build-up of, like, okay, it's kind of this, the parents have this mundane conversation, Ralphie blurts out what he wants. It's like, you're starting to try and put these ideas of Christmas into your parents' head, even though we haven't really got into it.
True.
And even, like, the narrator is making the nostalgia and just really making this movie a memory of everything. But I do like that watching this as an adult, the mom is very right in shooting her eyes out, but it also feels very dated too, because when this is set, there's a lot of interesting things going on in the world. So I won't get into that. But when she starts bringing up, there's people starving in China, little does she know, a little bit later, that's a huge thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This movie is set in the 40s. This movie was written in the 80s. And unfortunately, this wouldn't be a movie from the 80s if it doesn't make you cringe. At least twice.
Just a little bit.
It's not the worst 80s film that we will talk about ever. Or have talked about. But there's a couple of lines snuck in here that just, maybe we rewrite that in a remake later. You know?
Well, we'll get to the remake in a bit.
We will eventually get to the remake.
But speaking of good choices over bad choices, someone who has originally auditioned and was considered Jack Nicholson.
Oh, no.
And I am so glad that did not work out.
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, I kind of see the angle they're thinking. But I think even by this point, he was so Jack Nicholson that it would have just been all about that, you know? No. I don't know if it would have been quite as, like, lost in the character.
Yeah, I could see it working, but especially going from, like, this to, like, The Shining is, like, there is a huge leap, and I don't think it would have been as it wouldn't have been as classic as McGavin.
I agree.
In the role, so.
I agree.
And then even then, like, when we jump from vignettes to vignettes is the daydreaming of the childhood hero with the bedazzled and tasseled
I love it.
Cowboy outfit. It's really flashy and lame.
I love this stupid cowboy outfit because this to me screams something that, like, a kid saw a kind of sort of version on a, like, commercial or, like, the store display that's, like, way overdone. It's over the top. And he went, that, but more.
Yeah.
So, like, I love this stupid bedazzle thing where he's kind of sitting here cleaning his gun, telling his folks that, yeah, it's alright, I got everything, I got the compass on the bottom, it's alright, which, by the way, the version of this would not have had the compass on the bottom, but that's okay.
Well, here's the thing with that, too, is when he's talking about the rifle, he's talking about it like in the advertisement stuff.
He just, like, is restating the advertisement.
Exactly, and that's his dream of, like, oh, this is why I want it, is it's more consumerism. And even then with, like, the robbers, it's really playing into that old school serial style of radio advertisements or even tele or movie serials. It's that very old school cinematics, and even with crossing out the eyes is fun enough. So
that is a little silly.
There's a little bit there that I get, but I also think that this is a little too much.
I also think that this is quickly the part of the movie that makes it, for a lot of people, start to slip in their connection to it. Because this heavily revolves around him being a Radiohead kid. And having a few TV shows, but this isn't a thing like it used to be for boys anymore. It's a lot of superhero stuff, but, like, the Red Rider
for this era.
No, for the era it works perfectly. But I think a lot of people's complaint is that they don't see the charm. This is, I think, where a lot of it starts to slip.
Yeah, it's not like me and my brother Christian being like obsessed with Pokemon of being like, oh, well, we could see us being Pokemon masters.
Yeah, exactly.
And one thing I will say, I do appreciate that in the commentary they talk a lot about, like, the various daydreams they had, because there is one where he does use the red BB gun with Flash Gordon, so, like, there is still that superhero elements, but I'm glad that they cut them, because otherwise I think that would have been too overbearing for the rest of the movie. I think we get we get like 3 or 4 of these types of daydreams.
Yeah, and I like the daydreams, but this is one of my personal complaints of the movie, is I really like some of these daydreams. We have 8 daydreams outside of the main story plot.
Oh, damn, that's more than I thought.
And that's where, for me, I always get a little lost, because I don't normally watch this in bits. I'm usually asked to sit down and watch the whole movie, which is my least favorite way of watching a movie. And after the fourth vignette, you kind of go, is this movie really long? It's not. It's just because there's all these vignettes. They're good. They're all good vignettes. Don't get me wrong. There's just a lot of them. Yeah,
it's very fragmented, and that's why having that narrator is a decent enough attempt to try and stitch everything together. It
does work.
It works a lot better than all these other anthology movies where they're all over the place. This one actually feels connected. It's not like one of our favorites, Trick or Treat.
Exactly, which is all completely isolated until the end.
For the most part, there's these little inklings that it ties everything together.
Yeah.
And so, but that's the reward in that one, whereas this one is like, hey, pay attention because this is all kind of one movie that we've strung together.
Exactly.
Yeah. But for me, where this movie starts to break down is in the next scene with the blasted furnace.
Yeah.
Where the falling is a little bit too cheesy. It's a little bit...
There's a little slapstick.
It's a little too cartoonish for that... for that childhood memory, for like your father falling down some stairs. It feels like that'd be a little bit more traumatizing or a little bit more scary.
True. Granted, I could maybe see this as like him making up that part of the memory and not actually remembering it.
Yeah, it's some childish. It's more of a childish remembrance of your parents getting, or your dad getting pissy over some household issues of owning a house in the winter and having to do constant maintenance.
Sure, and granted, I see the core of it. I see what people like, but it does toe the cheese line just a little heavy-handed.
Just a little heavy. And there's parts with the dad that I'll get into, because there's a couple other parts where some of the story to me doesn't really work.
Sure.
I know what they're trying to do for comedic purposes, but it's a little bit too oblivious for what they're trying to do for me.
Right.
And then as we cut to like more of the wintry stuff of the mother wrapping up the baby brother.
This one to me gets me a cackle, because right here, this is where I see everyone else's nostalgia for the movie.
Well,
because we have essentially this exact snowsuit, Only ours was Chiefs, because we are from Kansas City. And legitimately could not put my arms down as a child, fell down, have a picture of me face down in the snow somewhere in my mother's house, unable to roll over because I am a marshmallow.
We had to be bundled up like this because this was Alaska. So.
Sure, like, I'm not saying don't make your kids warm. I'm saying only could waddle around like Patrick Star was quite the experience. I don't remember it, thankfully, I was too young. We have multiple pictures of me in this stupid-ass snowsuit.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue for me with this part is because we go from these, like, just slightly over-the-top daydreams to a little over-the-top memories.
Yes, it's very fanciful.
To this being a little bit too normal, where it's, instead of, like, the whole movie being this type of daydream or this a little bit over-the-topness, this is the part where it gets just that little bit too normal.
It ebbs and flows from what I like to consider Shepard's styling of the over-the-dramatic. It's still realistic enough, but it's clear that it is a fantasy or a dream or an embellishment, a tall tale. Yeah. Versus what I would argue is Clark's a little bit more heavy-handed in sections of kind of bringing it back down and trying to get that, like, rhythm going of the story.
Yeah, it tries to ground it, but it doesn't do it in a way that kind of retouches back to Earth. It's not like... And the only thing I can think of right now, because I'm reading the Golden Wind arc right now.
Oh, sure.
Is in, like, Takashi Miike's adaptation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where it always contains that over-the-top element in every single segment.
I mean, it is JoJo.
But it also keeps it grounded in his adaptation.
His version of it, yeah.
Where it's like, okay, this is believable if this power is doable. It's not way, way over the top.
Sure.
Whereas this one, or in the Christmas Story, we have over-the-top daydream, slightly over the top, and then just, like, while memorable, it's an exactly normal childhood memory that's like, yeah, I remember getting overbundled.
It feels, like I said, like two different speakers speaking.
Yes.
And I legitimately do think that this is where you can see the Clark versus Shepard influences in this movie, because one reads kind of like the rest of Clark's movies. Pretty straightforward, cut, funny, dry. Versus Shepard's kind of constant dry humor that rolls through itself, as opposed to having these waves like Clark usually does. Yeah. Neither is wrong. I see why people like having both in this movie. For me, though, I like the constant state.
Yeah, I feel you. And even then, like, they add the little bit of comedy of, like, the little brother trying to catch up. This is still, like, the realistic portion of, like...
It is. It's still comedy, cute, though.
Which I do have to say to one of my little brothers for the holiday special, eat shit, Christian, for not listening to me on Pokemon and getting the game taken away from me the first day we got it. We got it on Christmas, and he would not go into the tall grass, so catch up, you little bitch.
Oh my god. This is the whole point of the game.
I love you, bro. But even then, so, like, from that normal bit to the tongue-tied, where this is a very real thing. We had a childhood friend who did this,
of course,
and he did rip off his own taste buds because he's a fun man.
Thankfully, those grow back.
Now married and almost has 2 kids.
You know what? We all grow and learn.
But it's a very old school prank that I again, it's one of those things where I can see why people like this movie. I have the memory of someone doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do.
But and also, like, it also feels a little dated too, because while he's out there with his tongue on the row or on the pole, and I also don't get the triple dog dare you stuff. That makes no sense to me.
That is, I think, the 80s attempting to remember the 40s in a very heavy-handed sort of way, and it's something that I think a lot of us then collected from our parents and from movies and TVs and kind of, like, tried to carry with us. I don't know if it really, like, holds super hard and heavy, but, I mean, it works for kid rules and logic, so sure.
Well, it's also the same thing with the drawer of pranks, where it ranges from a harmonica to a pocket knife.
Okay, so the drawer of pranks I like, because, again, it leans back to the, like, original inspiration of really over-the-top and clearly false memories. I'm sure in reality this teacher had a handful of things that she'd confiscated over the years.
I have a lot of... I have some questions, a lot of not issues, but concerns about the implications of the scene too.
Okay, sure.
not that this part bothers me, but one asshole group of kids for leaving their friends out there.
But that tracks.
But also, why was the fire department and the cops called? It's definitely not the first time that they've had to do it. Is it just a way to, like, play into the comic? Because that's the other thing, too, is, like, they just yank him off of it instead of, like, pouring the warm water. Yeah, exactly. Is it supposed to be for a bit of comedy? Because it's kind of stupid.
I think it is comedy, and again, I think this is the Clark stylings of comedy that I've seen from him in the past, where it's over the top, it's very dramatic, and it is, it's funny enough, but yeah, you're right, like, this leads away from what we were doing just a moment ago of having kind of a more realistic and down-to-earth memory, and then we move into a, like, crazy, over-the-top kid version of the story, where if we had stuck with the kid stylings, I could see how as a kid you, like, convinced yourself they had to call the Coast Guard and the fire department and the police to get the kid. Like, I see where this was, like, trying to go, but because we were having these ebbs and flows in the story styling, and of the narrator, like, remembering things too boring, and then also, like, over-elaborating other things, it makes it a little hard to follow where we are truly elaborating versus what actually happened.
Okay, I can kind of see where you're going with that.
Yeah.
But, to be fair, at least Flick ain't a snitch.
That's true, you know.
Yeah.
Also, technically, Ralphie had nothing to sweat about. He wasn't the one who triple dog dared anyone. He technically just was an asshole by leaving his friend on the pole.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he's technically guilty of.
Well, he's also just didn't tell either, so instead of being
None of them told.
No,
None of these children told. Also, though, we kind of assume that this entire class is maybe a bit of a bunch of butts.
Oh, they all are. I mean, that's the other thing, too, is, like, Ralphie throughout this movie is a bit of, well, I mean, maybe that's the charm of it, too, is he is such a self-centered kid, because instead of worrying about his friend, he goes back to worrying about the present and the rifle.
And granted, I will say that is a styling that kind of was pretty predominant from the 40s all the way through, I would argue, the mid-90s. We haven't really seen a change in how kids are portrayed in media and movies until, honestly, really recently. There's been, like, a more interest in having a variety of levels of compassionate kid and stylings of kids in movies and TV now. That wasn't really a thing. Just about every family was a dick to each other and didn't really like each other, and all the children were kind of self-centered and buttheads in movies until really recently, and that's just kind of how it was.
It's a styling choice, I guess.
It does, and it makes it consistent for, like, storytelling and character building, but yeah, up until very recently, we just kind of had these super big archetypes, which is why when stuff like the Addams Family came around, that was the whole gig, was having that one thing that really went against it. Now it's not as big of a thing because we have more examples of difference.
Because it's more it's better to have a cohesive family than a dysfunctional family like in the past.
Yeah.
But another thing, like when the children are like leaving the school, it is that little bit of childhood bolstering of Flick, like, I wasn't scared at all. Did you see me brave that whole thing? Like, you guys are wimps for not doing this with me kind of thing.
Yeah, I do appreciate the, like, puffing up. It's cute.
Yeah.
It's kiddish.
It's kiddish, and it's a way to, like, build him up, and then they completely fall apart in front of Scott Farkas and his yellow eyes, which...
Scott Farkas has maybe liver issues?
Jaundice?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that it was meant to be, like, just a play. It's more of the kid memory, but yeah, this child maybe needs to go to the doctor.
Yeah, well, and it also just brings up questions of, like, is Farkas just a bully, or does he have home issues? Like,
okay, that's the thing, is watching this as a youth, and as just a for funsies, this character is fine. Watching this with any sort of criticism, you're very concerned about this child.
Oh, yeah, well, because it's just a dumb reminder of the childhood hierarchy of, like, okay, Farkas is, like, maybe a grade, maybe 2 grades above them, and he is using his slight size advantage over them all.
I also do love that he claims that their family had 800 some dogs, and we only really see 3 dogs. That feels correct to me for a child exaggeration.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they have a total of 5 dogs. He changes it to 800 dogs.
Yeah, it's like the same in The Sandlot, where the dog's supposed to be this horrible thing, but really all it is, it's It's a playful dog that's got some balls thrown in its yard.
And it is a big dog, but it's not the beast that they imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sparkus isn't as scary.
Exactly, especially once you beat the living shit out of him.
Oh yeah, later on. And like that's the other thing too, is like we go from from vignette to vignette relatively so quickly, because immediately from this we're going to him hyping up writing an essay to, oh, by the way, we have roving dogs in the neighborhood, which I don't know if that's much a thing anymore, or...
I think it depends on the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, and also like there's that little bit of physical comedy that starts to not work, like the dog getting his ear in the door is a little bit too over the top.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that this is where, for me, some of the effort on the vignettes, I don't know if I need all of these. I don't really... Like, I frequently forget that the dog vignette is in this movie. It's funny, like, on its own it's funny, but it adds more stuff in this film that, like, I forget about. It's not really part of the story in any way.
Yeah,
it doesn't really tie back in like some of the others. It's not like building his friends.
Yeah, it starts taking away from the Christmasness of it too, because there's also the bit of the dad winning a raffle, which we'll get into where that leads to.
Yeah, it's true.
But like the idea of the get quick rich schemes, and while that is part of Americana culture, it just starts to eat away and pick away a little bit more and more from the Christmas feel. Same with the fussy eater bit, and like getting their kid to eat like a pig, and it's just like...
I'm not a fan of this scene personally, but I'm not a huge fan of messy, so not for me.
Yeah, no, it's more stuff that just compounds upon, okay, well, I thought this was supposed to be a Christmas movie, why are we concerned about this vignette of a kid being a messy eater? And like, I get the dogs come back later, but it's still this bit after bit after bit that doesn't feel like it's going anywhere.
And I have read your complaints, and I have foreseen your arguments, dear listeners. I know that you're going to say, but they come back. It all ties back around. It all adds to the world and the memory of what life is like, and that not everything is perfect. It adds to his memory of his mom and his brother being gross as a small kid. I hear you. I'm saying that maybe there was quicker ways to do it.
Oh, very much so.
I'm not saying that you don't like it. I'm just saying that maybe this wasn't the only way to portray this.
There's some better vignettes to add to it.
Yeah, because there are some pretty damn good vignettes in this movie.
Yeah. Well, then getting into one of the more iconic ones,
Mm-hmm.
the leg lamp, which...
This one, to me, does feel like the dumb Christmas vignette that does tie into this movie very well. Because this is the thing their dad wants. And that's it. That's all he wants. It's stupid lamp.
It's all about women breaking down men's happiness.
It's so over the top. It does play a little bit uncomfortably into the 80s styling of the old man, the grumpy father figure who questionably likes his own family. It ties into the weirdness of the time period as well as, like, leg lamp. This is what he has to have, and in the center window.
Well,
but
it's supposed to feel fancy because it's being delivered and says fragile.
And it isn't a big box.
Yeah.
To me, this one makes the most sense as, like, the dumb Christmas one, because this feels like the one grumpy old man thing that he wanted and is excited for Christmas.
It feels like the one thing the dad wanted in his house, but the mom has made the rest. It's that classic Americana, like,
exactly.
The man's supposed to have his man cave, but in this case...
The woman decorates the house and he gets to shut up about it, but
exactly.
He wants this damn lamp.
Yeah, well, and even then, like, the way some of the stuff's delivered is, or not the stuff, the way the lines are delivered.
Yeah.
Where he says, fragile, must be Italian, feels like some dumb dad joke.
It does feel like a dumb dad joke.
But the way it's delivered is it's not a dumb dad joke, it's just that dumb dad trope that we see in this era of movies.
That is something that makes this a little hard to, like, for sure know which way that was meant to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because I see from the writing and from how this is all from Ralphie's point of view, how that could be him missing that his dad was being sarcastic and having, like, a bit of a play.
Trying to have fun with something he actually won instead of something he had to work for, basically.
Exactly. Like, I totally see that side of people's interpretation of this scene, but I also see how it's not a hard and fast rule, because, again, we lose that child perspective occasionally throughout this film in just a slight enough way where it's hard to tell where we really are remembering stuff correctly. And I know for some of you, you're gonna be like, oh, but that's the whole point. You can't remember correctly as a kid, and that makes it fun. No. This is a movie. I like to focus here.
Yeah.
Is this meant to be like an extra silly bit? I'd like to think so. That makes it more fun.
Well, it 100% is. I mean, when Ralphie in his narrative as an adult, he brings up that this is the leg that lived in infamy on the street even to today. And like the way he talks about it too is that not the way he talks about it, the way the dad talks about it when he's showing off to the neighbors is he's playing it off as an award. It's this way of kind of Americana keeping up with the Joneses of like, hey, this is how I'm doing better than you guys. It's a legend of humor that's a little bit overhyped.
And honestly, I think they must have been onto something, because while there are a handful of things from this movie that over time have become staples of Christmas iconery, the bunny suit being one of them, Red Ryder BB gun existed before, and I would argue its popularity, while increased via this movie or reignited, was plenty popular without this film for many decades. The leg lamp managed to become a real thing due to this movie.
Yeah, no, it's like the red stapler in Office Space, but really stupid.
But it clearly does tickle a certain dad character's funny bone. Because it's not just, oh, that's the thing, that's the lamp. This is like a popular thing. It is incredibly popular. You can buy real-sized ones, nice ones, cheap ones, ones that go in your bathroom as little, like, night lights, Christmas ornament versions, and not all of them are even, like, part of this movie. Like, not all of it is, like, money going back to the studio. Some of them are just, like, people wanted to make the leg lamp because it's hilarious to them. So clearly this was, like, they got the correct product for the correct type of man. They nailed that.
Yeah, just something dumb that you can annoy your significant other with.
100%. And so that is, for me, why I do like this segment. I do think it does tie into the Christmas attitude of, I must have the dumb thing even if my wife hates it.
Yeah, I have a specific wizard shirt that I wear or specifically bring up to Nebraska to piss off my mom.
See, we all have a little bit of something like the leg lamp.
Yeah, pretty much. But I will say the one comedic thing in this moment is the overplug walls, which...
I love the overplug walls. That, to me, is one of the peak comedy scenes.
Yeah, it's way over the top. But to be fair, when it's set, there's not a lot of wall plugs because...
It's the 40s!
Yeah, houses didn't have that many appliances.
No, and as someone who lives in an old house, even though I have had more outlets put in, there's never enough outlets.
Very much so.
Especially during Christmas.
Sure.
That's when the fire hazard really hikes up. Can't even get to the outlets sometimes because there's stuff in the way. You gotta daisy chain all those strings together.
Just move Remy's fat ass out of the way.
That would help a lot, honestly.
But there's other things in this movie that I don't really care for as much, with like the odd transition of running back to school with Farkas. It's just I get why they do it a few times of just like a attempted fun way to transition from one vignette to the next, but it doesn't really help for me.
Sure. The thing of this movie is that there is, the way a lot of these are tied together is there's the narrator and then there is the running gag. I kind of agree with you. I don't need more than one running gag, and I like the you're gonna shoot your eye out kid running gag. I kind of wish maybe we stick with that more so, but I also see why we were trying to like lead back in and remind ourselves of who is in this movie, because later on, having him stand up for himself does feel like an important memory for this kid around Christmas time. It would stand out. So yeah. I guess building that doesn't hurt, is just a little hammed up.
It's a little hammed up, but it also doesn't work for me because while he stands up at some point, Farkas is really only seen as a threat once, because the other times it's a comedic run. He doesn't feel threatening. He's just chasing these kids, which...
True.
Is Farkas really that mean, or is he just playing with them?
We will never know.
Exactly. But and that's the other thing, too, is like when we talk about the gags of this movie is when he hands in his essay, he has that daydream where now it's a Western again.
I mean, Westerns were incredibly popular during this time period. So
but like this is also like the last time we have that Western daydream too. And that's the other thing too, is like,
True.
I wish that run through, like, every one of his daydreams had kind of been along the same lines instead of later on when it switches to the Wizard of Oz.
Okay, that is one of the things where I think our dear director Clark, that is part of the reason why he claims that it's vaguely a bunch of different timelines, because the Wizard of Oz thing wasn't popular until the next year. The parade especially that, like, he claims to have, like, been part of, that wasn't until the following year. Same thing with several of the cars and songs, the gun itself. All of those are inconsistent with the timeline, but he added them because they are strong nostalgia points for a lot of people. I get that. He unfortunately backtracked a little bit late for my personal preference. If you're gonna be vague, lean into the vague, like, go full in, like, really go all in on, like, when is this? I don't know, roughly sometime in 2 decades.
Yeah.
And as opposed to having so many things pointing towards a specific year, and then just be like, oh yeah, but also this stuff, because I personally remember it.
Yeah, it doesn't work that well, because, like, the teacher snaps him out of the daydream.
True.
And it's such a short bit that we're back to tree bargaining, which, like, I never understand this rush to get trees, because, like, while this
is different than it used to be, for sure.
Yeah, to a point, I understand you want to get there so that way you can get it back and get it into water. It just, I don't know.
You also want a good-looking tree.
Yeah, you want a good-looking tree. You don't want the best ones that you don't want the ones that are overlooked. You don't want to see.
You don't want Charlie Brown stick, for sure.
I've never actually seen
Charlie
Brown.
It's literally a stick.
I know what it looks like.
Okay.
I've just never seen any Charlie Brown movies, so.
Well, we'll get to them eventually, because you'll hate those about as much as this.
Probably. Probably.
Here's the thing, though, is I do think that this bartering thing, this is where, for a lot of the newer audience, they're not going to see the connection. This isn't how Christmas trees are done anymore. Even if you go to the parking lot style one, or, like, the Boy Scouts, I think, also set up Christmas trees in parking lots that you can come by.
Oh, yeah. No, I did that for quite a few years.
I think they're still doing that. So, like, even if you go to specifically that style of Christmas tree lot, this isn't how most of us are doing it. Christmas trees are handled differently. Most of them are netted now. Most everybody has string for you to tie it down with. There's a couple of family, like, memories of, haha, do you remember when the tree was super dry, we lost all the needles on the way home?
Yeah, like when he shakes down the tree and then there's just a pile or a ring of needles around
it. That part I do see people still remembering that.
Yeah.
The bargaining, though, it's just, we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's the bargaining and then, like, I'll net it and tie it to your car for free.
That's usually standard nowadays, I'm sorry.
Or you do it yourself, the netting standard.
Netting standard, tying it to your car, honestly, just ask nicely, someone will help you.
Yeah. The one thing I did find interesting about this scene is not this scene specifically, but I went down a little rabbit hole because the mom's like, well, what about one of those plastic trees?
Yes.
I had questions about it in the 40s.
I love a plastic Christmas tree from ye olde times.
But yes, plastic trees in the 1800s, specifically the 1880s, where the first artificial trees were made from dyeing goose feathers out of the motherland, Deutschland.
Of course they would. They have so many trees.
But the plastic, well, that's the thing too, is like we cut our trees in Germany ourselves.
That's true.
But the plastic that we know of now started in England with Addis making plastic trees using the tech for toilet brushes.
You know, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Also, by mid-30s to 40s, having a plastic Christmas tree was pretty fashionable. They were starting to come in a bunch of different colors and styles and shapes and ways to put them together. And, as some of you know, they made it. A lot of them are still surprisingly around an uncomfortably long time later.
As they should be.
Maybe not. Let's just say that, like, putting those old ones together is a pain in the butt, and if your family was a smoker, you might want to consider cleaning them. Just saying.
Gross.
Just saying.
Small other rabbit hole I went down in this is there were aluminum Christmas trees as well that started in the 50s.
Yes.
But declined because of specifically a Charlie Brown Christmas giving them a negative portrayal in 1965.
That is true. However, The hyper mirrored and colored ones then did have a resurgence with the hippie movement, which is where we get a lot of pink and blue and bright silver trees.
Yeah, ugly pieces of shit.
And now we still have them. I do think they are a little less fashionable than they used to be. I think a lot more people have access to both getting a live tree and also disposing of one, which was a lot of people's complaint. But on the flip side, a lot more people live in apartments now and don't see the room for a tree at all.
Yeah, I'm not putting up a tree because of an asshole.
That's fair. Yeah, cats will do that to you.
Yeah.
I got a specifically edible tree, just in case.
Nice.
Just in case he really decides to go for it.
But also, there's some other stuff in this movie, too, that I don't know if it's just me, but I don't really remember caroling in a car as a kid. And maybe it's just not something that's really done anymore. Like, I remember listening to Christmas music, but I don't remember... They don't have radios in the car.
They don't have radios in the car. It would have... If they did music, it would have been a cassette tape.
In the 40s?
No, you're right, in the 40s. That would have been the 80s.
It's filmed in the 80s.
It's filmed in the 80s, so yeah, no.
So, yeah, okay.
So they would have, but also, I would like to say that might just be a family thing. Because my family, if a song really caught a tickle and we were all in a really great mood, maybe we do sing along to the radio. But for the most part, my family listened to the radio or we chit-chatted. We didn't do a lot of, like, specific car games, and we were not singers. My loving husband's family is full of singers. I love you guys very much.
Music nerds.
They are all music nerds, and they harmonize in the car. They all have different parts that they sing. They all have fun facts to go with every song. And it's very sweet, but it is very family specific. So, with that said, I think the singing part depends on who you are. I think there's still plenty of people who are very carol-y, but I think they are usually in choir.
Okay.
Of some capacity.
I can understand this from when you explain it that way, because my youngest brother dormed in one of the choir dorms. And
they don't stop singing, do they?
No, they don't. Like, when it was supposed to be quiet hours, he's like, every single time at this time of day, everyone starts singing, and he's like, I cannot do this.
If they are musically enough, they will sing with the vacuum. They harmonize to the damn appliances.
Nerds.
Yes.
Big ass nerds.
So, I think the singing part is mostly a family-specific thing.
Okay.
Because, yeah, mine also I was in choir, but, like, we weren't out there singing for the hell of it.
Okay.
We chit-chatted or daydreamed out the window, like normal people.
Yeah, well, you also had a radio to listen to, so...
We did. We listened to a lot of Delilah.
What?
Delilah. She was on the air. She played music for you. I think she's still on the air. Good for her.
I have no clue.
Hey, you were in the wrong part of the world for Delilah.
Yeah.
She very, like, nice whispers and encouraging words for people. And she'd take phone calls and people be like, I'd like to send a message to my long-lost lover of 20 years. Can you play him a song? She'd be like, of course, hun. Keep following your dreams. And then she'd play a song that was clearly picked multiple minutes before this call happened. But it, like, vaguely sort of went with the theme. Like, she definitely had, like, a folder of songs. There was, like, love, one of these.
Fascinating.
Heartbreak, one of these. Happy birthday, one of these. I think she's still on the air. She was very relaxing to listen to.
My radio memory is in Germany, we were waiting outside somewhere, and Eddie Murphy's song, What in the Butt?
Hell yeah. On. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good song.
Shove a radiator up your butt.
What?
But this is also, I'm sure this is going to piss off a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my brother, we both absolutely, with all of our souls, fucking despise this scene.
Okay.
The whole, like, all I get, it's reminiscent of having your dad tell you to hold the flashlight.
Sure, I was the flashlight holder, still am.
We hate the
the extra slow-mo.
Well, that isn't what I really said. Like, as an adult watching it now, I understand this makes it family-friendly enough.
It does, because this movie does have the most family-friendly rating it can have for the movie it is.
It still annoys the ever-loving shit out of me. On top of that, too, the mom's outrage is so stupid. I hate this in the connecting scene so much still that it's like when I watched La La Land and had some uncontrollable, like, seething hatred for that scene. Every time I watch this or think of this scene, I hate it more and more and more.
I hear you. I agree with you on the slow motion, oh fudge, followed up by narration of, not really saying fudge. We know, narrator. You don't have to be here right now. We can just watch the scene. We all know. But the soap one, I do kind of see because of when this movie's supposed to be set.
Yeah, okay, it's not necessarily the soap itself. I get like, oh, it's funny, he's supposed to be a soap connoisseur of remembering which soap was the worst punishment.
Yeah, and in case anyone's wondering, it is in fact Ivory soap.
Okay, I never had to eat soap as a kid.
I have.
Intentionally, or?
I had naughty words.
Okay. I can see you as a kid of like, oh, this is kind of good.
No, I did not eat soap for fun. It was not enjoyable.
Okay, good. You have normal taste buds.
I do.
The thing that annoys me about the soap scene is that the mom just pretending that the dad doesn't know it, and then on top of that, Ralph being a coward and saying his friend Schwartz did it. What annoys me the most is that the mom is so stupid and oblivious in this scene that even Schwartz's mom is probably like, I think he learned it probably from his father. The
one that cusses in the front yard on a daily basis?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah.
Just...
Well, and here's my complaint with it is, up until this point, we have built this mother character a very specific way. Granted, she is a memory that the child has created of her. This one breaks both the childhood version of mom and also the few snippets that we can assume are meant to be the real, like, story of her, because he's not in the room, maybe not really telling us it. This is a completely different act than what we've seen her do up until this point.
Yeah, it just makes her seem so dumb in this moment, and then on top of that, she tries the soap, which I get supposed to be for some comedic value, but it's like...
Sure, but it also came from the 40s mindset of, you're gonna wash your mouth out for saying dirty words.
But, like, why would she try the soap? Does she not, like... Why would she even think that tastes good? She probably had a similar punishment as a kid, too.
No, it's not supposed to taste good.
But why does she...
That's the punishment.
But that's the thing, is, like, if she knows it's a punishment, why does she go and try it? It makes no sense to me.
Because he's not responding like she thought he would. He has called himself a soap connoisseur, which implies he has said a lot of naughty words over the years. And this is, quote-unquote, the worst naughty word he has said. So she's tried the soap punishment for so long that maybe he likes soap.
No, why is she, like, she tastes the soap? That's my complaint.
Because maybe she's buying good tasting soap is her thought process. Which is why I can confirm that she's not buying the good tasting soap.
Okay, I see it now. Like, Ralphie's not reacting the way she wants him to, so she's like, is this soap bad?
It's like the equivalent of being like, does the taser work? Oh, yeah, it's still on.
But see, that's the thing. The comedy is so stupid that you have to try and think of, like, why the fuck is she even doing this?
And here's my main complaint, is our actress is a very talented actress, and she plays this role of a memory super well.
She's great.
However, I do think that this whole scene was meant to read as her knowing that it is the dad the whole time and trying to get him to say the truth. And him misremembering it a little bit. However, I don't think she acted it quite hard enough for that to read.
Well, if she's trying to play with, like, trying to get him to say the proper words of, like, him tell the truth, is like, she rats on her friend, on this friend's son who gets his ass kicked. You can hear the kid getting his ass whooped in the background.
No, absolutely. I don't think she quite played it right, or most likely, I don't think it was directed quite right, because this sets up Ralphie as a snitch instead of just telling that it was his dad.
Well, we know he's a coward. For the most part.
No, we totally do. But what my point is that I think that this was originally intended with a slightly different outcome of her. I think the soap bit works. I think her tasting it to be like, does he like soap? What is wrong with this child? I think that bit works. I think her having this new level of stupidity does not work.
No, not at all. Even then, the soap bit is, while it is, I guess, just punishment for a 9-year-old saying fuck.
Yeah.
It leads into another woe is me pity fantasy of going blind by 21 from soap, and it's like, they'll be like
sure.
I get that kid mentality of, oh, they'll be sorry, just wait till they see their actions have consequences for me in the future.
No, I agree. I think this is where us having the narrator switch from being clearly an adult reminiscing over his overtold, bigger than life fishing story style way of writing to it's a little exaggerated to maybe it's not exaggerated at all. I think having that flip, that is where this part kind of reads a little strange.
Yeah.
Because we go from, well, that's not the mom character that I would assume we know, so that must be a, misremembering or an over-remembering.
Mm-hmm.
To, okay, now we're doing the blind act because he wants to feel sorry. A pity thing that I think a kid could think up, but it's injected with this very adult idea of, so blindness at 21. It just doesn't quite flow the same way that the other vignettes did.
No, well, and that's the thing too, is because it feels like a block of vignettes compared to getting right into the fruit bribe, which,
yes, true.
Thinking about it, it's the 40s, and to get fruit in the winter was very expensive, and it's such an awkward bit, and then you start thinking about did he really get her a bouquet of fruit, or did he just get her an apple, thinking of oh, see, I got you a bunch of stuff? And if it is a bouquet of fruit, did the parents not notice that their child brought a very, very expensive gift to their teacher?
And then also, I do always wonder about this scene was it a bouquet of fruit, or did he bring her 2 fruits?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's hard to read because we've switched so much that I think when you're just lightly watching this, as most people do, you don't care, and honestly, a lot of you aren't sitting and watching this whole thing scrutinizingly. You're getting up, you're having cookies, you're having a little hot chocolate, you're chit-chatting with your friends and family because it's Christmas time, aren't you? It's when you're, really digging into this movie that's when it starts to get a little bit off. Yeah. And I think that's why more people are starting to, not understand it the way that older, past generations have loved it. And it's because we're watching it a little differently.
We're watching it a little differently, and obviously, things change, and we have some relation to some of the other scenes, because it goes from that right into the secret or little Orphan Annie's decoder ring, which...
Yes, this one is funny to me, because I watch and listen to 40s radio and TV.
I figured you know Little Orphan Annie.
I sure do know Little Orphan Annie.
I know it was a real thing, and I know, when we were kids, we had the barcode mail-in rebate or mail-in prizes. So in our time, there is still some continuation of that. I don't know if they really do that anymore. I've been out of touch.
They don't really do it anymore. The prizes in cereal boxes even, which is I think as close as our childhood really got to that, or maybe the McDonald's, you peel the thing off the cup and you get a free french fry or something.
Yeah.
That's kind of as far as it went. Most of these quote-unquote free prizes are now via apps, and most kids don't have access to those apps, or shouldn't have access to those apps, because they're the discount coupons for McDonald's. Your kid doesn't need that. You're the one ordering.
Well, and I think my biggest issue with this scene too is not necessarily that it doesn't relate to modern times, it's that in the whole scheme of it being a Christmas movie, that feeling of inclusiveness and realizing it's just more consume Ovaltine.
Yes, which I do find funny outside of the Christmas story part of just consume Ovaltine as the gag.
But why is this in a Christmas movie? It doesn't turn back into the Christmas part. Maybe it's the disappointment of Christmas, but it doesn't, for me, it just doesn't relate. You could transplant it into any other movie from this era that's an anthology, and that's why it starts to break away even further and further from this being a Christmas movie.
And here's truthfully my only real complaint about this, because I do find this scene funny, but like I said, I am the weirdo who still listens to these radio shows and still follows along with the figure out the codes, kids, because right now I'm working my way through a cowboy show that was popular for kids, and I think the 40s. The name of the show is currently escaping me because it was kind of the next thing on, honestly. But the part that doesn't really make a ton of sense is the whole point of this show, or this movie, is to kind of lean into the cushiness that was kind of meant to be part of the comfort of a Christmas show set in the 40s. Especially early 40, because, again, World War II was looming, we'd just gotten over the Great Depression, not everyone economically was doing great, but we had a lot of cheap stuff that you could, pull together for, and so that's where a lot of our original, consumerism for Christmas really started kicking off hard. And this movie does a good job of leaning into that memory. It really, like, amplifies that nostalgia feeling of, like, oh yeah, I remember that specific franchise, or oh, I had a similar franchise that I also loved and wanted the toys of, or the specific action figure of. And then this scene specifically goes against the rest of the message of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I'm not saying the message is right or wrong, but like you said, this whole skit could have been literally any other movie with any other kid, and it would have made the same amount of sense.
Yeah.
So, I like Ovaltine. Like, all of these are memories for me, too. I currently drink Ovaltine. I have it in my house. I love it.
Ugh,
but this doesn't do anything for the rest of the movie.
No,
it's very strange.
It doesn't. And I think the other disconnect, too, that unless you've really paid attention or done some back digging on American housing, the reason, like, this bathroom's the only safe place and why they're worried about getting his brother in is at this time in most households there was only one bathroom. So
yeah, if you were really lucky, you had one full bath and one powder room.
Yeah,
and that would have been pretty good.
And in their house, that's probably what they have. But like, this is the one for the children. But
absolutely, this is the children's bath.
Yeah, even then, that's still something that's kind of missed at this point.
That's true, especially when, honestly, even if you are in a house with only one bath, having like a quote unquote the safe bath, it just doesn't quite mean the same.
Very much so. And like, and that's the other thing too. There's so many of these scenes that just don't flow together very well. Especially from going from that to the mom breaking the gaudy lamp, which we had the one little comedic bit of like the comedy of three of them, mom being embarrassed, and then when they're heading out, she goes to turn it off, and then now she's broken it because we need to have just a little bit of dumb drama and close off that lamp's arc.
Yeah, and I guess really this part is meant to like tie together the whole final round bit of 80s family drama comedy of eventually the wife in the house gets her way, but in a kind of an unfair way. This isn't a scene for me. I think the lamp should have stayed.
Yeah, it's
ugly. Maybe we can work through after Christmas where the lamp lives. Like maybe it moves to the garage or not in the center window. But did the lamp need to break for the comedic bit? To me, no. I think honestly it would have been funnier if the lamp stayed.
Yeah, it's just another dumb vignette that doesn't add anything to the movie and just needs to be one way to clear out a story arc.
Yeah, which is a weird thing for this movie to be thinking about because the amount of loose ends this movie has is numerous. And honestly, that's fine because this is a quick memory recap of one specific Christmas. I don't care if there's loose ends. Of course there's going to be loose ends. This is one little snippet in this guy's life.
No, exactly. And it's just, I think that's part of it too, is it's the random memories of Christmas that don't necessarily tie together, that work when you're talking to people or work in a book, but when it comes to like a movie standpoint.
I completely agree with the working in a book or in a talking standpoint, because the way the books were written is they feel like a guy who just won't shut up conversation at you sort of thing, which I like. I think it's very fun. I like the flow and the rhythm of them. But yeah, they don't always translate the best into movie format, which I do find it interesting that this movie kind of set this pacing for a lot of other drama comedies in both TV and movie. So, yeah. I mean, we've improved it, I think. I think there's better examples, but yeah, this one definitely kicked off that idea.
Yeah, just a bit. And even then, so like, I think the only thing it parallels with the next scene is the mom's a little bit of bully, but the other bullies are just in wait while they're waiting to school, and Flick, their friend, just gets the short end of everything, of getting punched in the face.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case.
And even then, like, it's like, okay, that's a fine little bit, but now we're just back onto the essay, and oh no, he got a slightly above average essay and a note that you'll shoot your eye out, where we have to daydream about the teacher being the Wicked Witch of the West out of nowhere and his mom being a jester because they're in cahoots.
Yeah, okay. I have two questions. First off, I understand that Wizard of Oz was a huge and impactful movie for a lot of kids. I get it. We've talked about it. We've gone in full deep dive. I've lived in Kansas long enough to know the impact of Oz. I don't really feel like it needed to be added to this film. It just feels kind of shoehorned in for no damn reason.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, if you pause this movie on his assignment, it's one-sided assignment. he has no corrective notes on it. He just gets a C- out of nowhere.
C+.
C+.
Sorry, he's slightly above average. We don't want to put him that far down.
Yeah, my bad. It's not completely failing. But this teacher has no red lines for grammar, no sentences, no criticisms, just, your gift sucks. My good man Ralphie,
your theme. That's what their essays were, your theme.
Yeah. My good man Ralphie, you and your mom need to go to the principal. This is unfair.
Yeah, well,
you got jaded, my dude.
So here's the other thing too, is like, I think you and I, because of the college and the stuff we went through, our expectation of average and what our parents expected of is so much higher.
That is true.
Like,
yeah.
My parents were disappointed I wasn't a straight A student, because at a certain point, I'm lazy and I don't want to do something unless I don't have to. So if I could get by getting B pluses and A's, I was fine. I didn't want to do that extra step, but like, for a lot of people, C plus is a good grade. Like, it's average. Like,
it's just that she had no feedback for him at all, other than your gift sucks.
Well, it's a childhood essay about a rifle. Maybe she's wanting him to think a little bit deeper on stuff instead of consumerism. Maybe the teacher's actually not a bad person and wants more out of Ralphie and sees the potential in him instead of saying, don't obsess over this stupid rifle.
Okay, and as someone who's read like the original tellings of Ralphie and the like story, I do see that is where like the character probably is coming from, is like, he writes himself as like a bit of like a average, I'm kind of lazy, I daydream a lot, but look, I turned into a writer, isn't that great, sort of mindset. But I do wonder if in the movie, like, it doesn't quite read. However, I do like the through line of every single adult telling him the exact same phrase of "you'll shoot your eye out," because this does feel like a lie that as a group of friends, you would, or a group of adults, you would be like, hey, by the way, he's really into karate right now. Can you tell him he can't do that? He'll break his arm.
Yeah.
And like, of course you're gonna lie. You just got asked to do that. Like, you'll say the exact same lie that his parents told him, because that's how it works when they're kids. So I do like that every adult says the exact same lie to him. I do think that it is a little strange that this was his only, like, he got a C+ for this? Okay, but oh well, it's again another vignette that just kind of keeps stacking on, and at some point you're like, God, this movie's longer than I thought. And this is honestly where most of the times when I'm watching this, I'm like, damn, this movie's a lot longer than I remember.
Well, because it's another bit to bring the rifle back into it, and then also a way to end the bully arc, because the C+ makes him snap on Farkas, and like,
I do understand that.
Well, I mean, I do too. I mean, I've had days where it's like that little thing that puts you over too far, but at the same time, like, what we've seen of Farkas, he only gave Flick the bad eye. If anyone should flip on Farkas, it's Flick. Whereas, like, all we've ever seen him do to Ralphie is just chase him up and down an alleyway.
Which is weird, because again, I didn't feel like the chasing scene added a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I agree that when you are critically looking at this film, it's a little strange, but I also get from the, like, talking to especially a lot of the older guys in my family and life who like this movie and consider it a classic, they do see themselves or their friends or their brothers in Ralphie and having a memory of a bully being a bit too much. So, like, I get where someone is pulling nostalgia and just enjoying that scene for what it is.
Yeah, I can to a point, but it just doesn't really add to, I guess, quote-unquote, the theme of what Christmas is supposed to be in this movie. Of like,
you're right, because unlike other movies that we'll eventually talk about, this movie isn't about beating people up for Christmas.
No, not at all. But this is why, like, the scene with the mom and the soap feels so dumb and out of place, is because when she does come in, like, that's the other thing, too, is Ralphie is supposed to be flinging a slurry of profanity at Farkas while he's beating the shit out of him.
True.
And the mom comes to the rescue and his emotions kind of settle down and he starts crying and he returns to being a kid again. Mm-hmm, but this is where she's a really good mom of, like, getting him to calm down, of like, hey, it's gonna be okay, don't worry about it, go lay down. I know it's been stressful, just decompress a little bit.
It feels like a different person.
Yeah.
Which is where I agree. The earlier scene of her being like, I guess I gotta call this other kid and have him, like, because my son said, when she definitely knows that his dad is the, like, pottiest mouth on the block.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It is very strange.
Well, and then on top of that, like, protecting them from their dad raging over, hey, their son stood up for themselves. Like, that's something a dad would have been proud of. Like,
I agree. This is a little strange.
yeah, the baby bro hiding in the closet. It makes it feel like and I'm granted, I'm probably reading too into this. It makes it feel like, oh, the dad's a little bit abusive, but there's nothing else that cues it into this other than, oh, they're afraid that their dad's gonna be upset that the son stood up for himself for once.
And this is where this movie being a 40s styled film made in the 80s, I think really doesn't necessarily read as well today as it did then. This is a pretty hard and like fast stereotype that we see a lot for both mom character and dad character.
Oh yeah, I mean the dad is like, I'm home, feed me.
100%. And this was kind of, again, the standard for most TV dads in the 80s because a lot of those dads were based off of 40s TV dads, which, again, we were trying to establish a very specific time frame in the 80s of what the quote-unquote perfect family looked like. Dad went to work, came home, everyone catered to him. That idea, because of TV and movies, continued, especially through the 80s until recently, when we've really broken that mold. Popularity of like daytime dramas and TV, where the stereotype is different, has become incredibly popular and rechanged the set.
Yeah, look at Malcolm in the Middle, where the mom's now the aggressive one, and Lois is the aggressor, and Hal is the like, we'll just let her walk over him, but he's like the sweet, sensitive father.
Yeah, and honestly, the base stereotype changed for a lot of the late 90s and early 2000s to stupid father and hot mom.
Well, and even this is kind of a stupid dad too, because even
but in a different way.
Well, because like they're both the parents are kind of stupid at times too, and specifically in this scene where like the mom just soothes it over of like the dad's not gonna notice that his son's kind of beat up a little bit,
but again,
or like not care.
I mean, it's such a hard stereotype that I think that's what they wrote, what they knew.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I realize it's supposed to be that solid realization that your parents aren't against you. It's a good growth moment for Ralphie.
Sure.
But that's the thing is it's a sweet vignette that goes absolutely nowhere again. Like it's like, okay, this is around the Christmas time, and why Christmas is special is because this is when I realized, oh, my mom's there more so than to discipline me than what we've seen in the past.
I think it succeeds with the mom character.
Yes.
I agree with you. The dad character side doesn't read quite as well as it could.
No. Well, and also Ralphie's realizing just doesn't work with it too, because it's immediately from this back to, well, now that we're going to go see Santa, this is my last ditch effort to ask for weaponry.
You know what though?
As a kid, this was our first choice of questioning.
This would have been the first thing you think of, but Ralphie's maybe not the smartest. He's getting a C+ for an essay that got no criticism. So,
yeah. Well, that's the other thing too with this scene too is it feels out of place compared to what we just had, a big emotional moment, but also in the ordering of things. Like I get where the C+ essay comes in of like, okay, well, his teacher's not gonna put the bug in my parents' ear. It's
sure.
But when she turns into the Wizard of Oz, now we see Wizard of Oz in a Disney parade. It's just like...
So, this is where the Oz and the parade, to me, make a little bit of sense. Again, the exact year is a little messed up, but...
It makes sense to me. It's just the ordering of like, well, we had this in a daydream and now we're seeing it. For me, it would have worked better if it was
reversed.
Parade and then we see that.
I agree so strongly, because... Granted, the year is a little messed up, but honestly, I'll overlook it because I don't really care. It's just a nitpicky thing that I like to point out. But, yes, the Disney/Oz parade, that did happen. There's a couple that happened, actually. And they were popular. And I'm sure a kid like Ralphie did see that parade, and it would have imprinted on him. Again, Disney just had Pinocchio and Fantasia come out. Granted, Fantasia didn't do well. Pinocchio did great. Wizard of Oz was incredibly popular at the time. So, like, yes, it makes sense that, like, this is the equivalent of Macy's Day Christmas Parade bullshit that Ralphie would have seen. I agree more, though, that it would have made more sense if it was already in his head, as opposed to you having to know the weird timeline of when the Wizard of Oz was relevant.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing, too. I mean, that's nitpicking on our side. Because, like, I get this whole scene is supposed to show the impatience of tradition as a kid because you just
Sure.
want the toys. It's all about consume. Give me my weaponry. Let me shoot my eyes out.
Oh, 100%.
Let me fight Black Barts.
However, this is where I do really like the dry Clark humor that rings through with especially the Santa. This one reads the most like a bunch of his other movies to me, where the Santa is like, gosh, the moment the clock strikes 5, I'm off the damn clock. These kids are disgusting.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Like that reads incredibly like Bob Clark to me, and I think that's very funny.
Yeah.
The fact that he's like pushing him down the slide with his foot reads the same way. I appreciate that it's not the whole movie styled like that. I think that'd been much.
Yeah, I think also the Santa setup is a little bit too grand, but I like it because it's that over embellishment of your childhood of like, oh, the Santa, I'm sure you probably have something else that it's an actual Santa thing.
It is.
Okay.
So Higbee's store was filmed on site.
Yes, they had to shoot after hours.
They did.
And the guy telling them to get to the back of the line was Gene Shepard, so he is in the movie.
Yeah, congratulations, dude. Granted, I don't have any hard proof that this exact Santa setup is what Higbee's had at whenever this movie was meant to be set. However, I can confirm, based off of some research, that the over-elaborate Santa setup like this was popular. It originally started in New York with some of the big, very expensive department stores, which were becoming very fashionable at the time. Those having like this big Santa sort of thing, think Macy's. Those then trickled all the way across the US. It became a big thing to have a Santa, and if you were a big fancy store like Higbee's wanted to be, I should say wanted to be, they were at the time of like this time period, they would have had a very cool setup. Was the amount of stairs and slide probably exaggerated for childhood memory sort of bullshit?
Yeah.
Probably. But yeah, nowadays we all just have like normal mall Santa who sits on the ground, and you're lucky if he's like good and doesn't smell like cigarettes, which is now the current like running joke, right?
Our Santa at the Fifth Avenue Mall in Alaska was very special, so.
I will say I did go see Santa this year at the Bass Pro, and Bass Pro splurges on their Santa. He was excellent. A good Santa. Well done.
Nerd.
However, it was very funny to see families full of people in full camo getting their picture with Santa. That did tickle my fancy quite a lot.
That feels very Midwest.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But no, like that's the current running joke, right? A lot of our more modern Christmas stories, that's the joke, is like Santa putting out the cigarette real quick before like putting his beard back on.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. The kids are annoying. Like, here's a wet one, which at the same time, like,
Ew.
that happened just before they got on there and they pushed him down the slide. So now there's a snail trail of kid piss.
As someone who has had to clean slides after children, that's accurate.
Okay.
That's accurate.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, we see that
I've worked at places with kid equipment that had to be cleaned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And the only way to clean it is to climb up the slide, and you're not doing that during hours. You got to do that after clock, after the store's closed. That slide's just nasty.
Gross.
Yeah.
But the other thing with this scene too is like Santa's not terrible. I think he's is he trying to make him scary? Because I don't get that. Like,
I think this is leaning harder into like the unreliable child narrator side, which I honestly think we should have had this level of unreliable Ralphie narrator the whole movie as opposed to flipping, because this one, it goes from, oh, Santa is the goal, we're climbing up the stairs, we're like shoving people out of the way to like get to Santa. He finally gets up there, he recognizes that like the adult human dressed as an elf is like just a normal person, but that's still Santa to him.
Yeah, and I get it's supposed to be like this panic in the deer in the headlights moment where he's like, oh, even Santa's against him now, once he does tell him like, oh, this last minute panic of Santa's like, oh, you want this? Well, peace off, little kid. And then he's like, no, I really want this. Ho ho ho, you'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Which is why I think it leans more into the unreliable narrator of Ralphie of like, oh, he has to do this in line by himself. Granted, I'm aware this is in the 80s when children did a bunch of shit by themselves. But I think that if we had this level of unreliable narrator through the whole movie, it would have been plausible that he wasn't actually by himself. Like, someone like told Santa, like, please don't let him have this. Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the, like, at the end of the scene, he's just sitting there at the end of the slide with his brother, just, obviously there's more like
kids
vibing.
that came. Yeah, like they're at the bottom where they were left, like kids were still coming down the slide to run them over.
And again, it all leads into that idea of like Ralphie over exaggerating, probably misremembering how long he laid there mourning his loss of his Red Ryder BB gun. It was probably seconds before his mom scooped him up. But in kid years, seconds, hours, days, who knows?
Yeah,
but
or forever, because they're getting up to Santa as the store is closing, and their parents are picking them up leaving.
But again, that all makes sense in the context of Ralphie is the most unreliable narrator, and he tells the biggest whopper of a story, even as an adult. Something that isn't consistent through this movie.
No, and there's a nice little moment to that as well towards the end of, while everything else is inconsistent, there's a line from his dad of like, well, did you ask Santa for what you want for him? He's like, no, well, don't worry, he knows. He always knows. Like, what that leads,
it's getting there.
It implies what the dad knows, but
true.
There is a moment in this movie too that there's a little bit of insideness of like having to know Shepard's work. And where he's like, all the line went back to Terre Haute, which this is a fictional version of the city in Indiana that the movie's based off of Hammond, Indiana. And unless you know the works in the cities, it just really falls flat, because I had to look up like what even is Terre Haute. I think it was like when we were in college, we'd say, oh, where's this building at? Oh, it's in bumfuck Egypt, because it's a joke of like it's so far away.
Yeah.
Terre Haute, which makes sense from a kid's point of view, is only 3 hours from Hammond, Indiana.
That's not that far by Midwestern standards.
No, by kid standards, 3 hours in a car is misery. I mean, we're talking 40s. You don't have your Game Boys.
No, I've been there.
You're maybe reading. You're maybe singing. 3 hours is a tough time to get through. So I get where that's getting that, like, oh yes, that is a long time for a kid. But unless you know the distance between X and Y...
That's true. Well, here's the other thing, is, I agree, you do need to know the distance between X and Y, but also, like, they've picked a purposefully vague sort of place, which I think works. I think having it in kind of roughly Cleveland makes the most sense, because it's vague enough, it's, roughly American or Canadian enough to be forever... classically ambiguous, right?
It's northern Midwest.
Exactly. Like, it's classically ambiguous in the perfect sort of sense that works great for a Christmas setting. But why couldn't we have said, like, Timbuktu? Somewhere that's, like, a classically said, like, nowhereness.
Exactly. It's just little things like that you have to know the works of Shepard to get an idea, or you have to know the time period. And I think while we talk about this, so while this movie is classic from the 80s, the setting, we're getting further and further away from all of this, that unless you know the source material, unless you know the era at least decently enough, or unless American culture goes back to this era or to a style of this era, it's gonna even become less and less of a classic. It's not like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, where that's just a classic Christmas tale of fantasy.
This and set in the North Pole, which is obviously like a false place.
Yeah, this is supposed to be rooted in some type of reality.
I totally see it. I do think, though, that the majority of people who still love this film in its entirety and claim the perfect writing, I think a lot of it comes down to the willingness to overlook these sorts of details.
Yes.
Which I get. I overlook plenty of details in movies that I love because I love them, and why wouldn't I? But it is one of those interesting things where this movie gets praised a lot for its writing. Mm-hmm. And I do think it is strong in its writing. But I do wonder about some of the choices.
Well, and that's the thing, too, because we've been talking about how a lot of the stuff doesn't really tie into each other.
True.
And it's the last 30 minutes of... I wouldn't even say 30 minutes. The last 20-ish minutes of the movie that really make it feel like a Christmas movie. Everything else just feels like Americana.
Yes.
Because we're at Christmas Eve. They're decorating the Christmas tree, which another thing that maybe times have changed, and they just want to do this later on in the movie. Decorating the night before.
Yeah, I think especially now with the promise of a lot of Americans wanting to decorate the moment it turns after Halloween. Yeah. Which I personally am against, but I understand, I suppose. I do think that this is something that, like, I don't know if people do this anymore. I don't
no, I think it's an old-timey tradition of, like, that's why you rushed out to get the tree. Is so that way you had something fresh enough for the day of. And so that's why, like, you could you decorated that day, and then it was...
And I do wonder if, like, just the way people decorated and kept their trees has changed over the years. I couldn't find a bunch of information on this other than just asking the Christmas tree lady that I went to last weekend. And she was pretty prominent on, like, yeah, people didn't water their trees in, the old times, which is why they, she handed us a piece of paper, like, do not let your tree catch fire.
Yeah.
And I was like, whose tree is catching fire? She's like, a lot of people don't water them.
Well, this one, because they are overplugged as well still.
They are overplugged, which I understand that one. That joke was not lost on me.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, too, with this movie is, like, while that's still a funny joke for us, I think we've moved so far, we're getting far past overplugging stuff.
I agree. I do think a lot of families don't do this anymore.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like, the decoration of the tree is so of its era that we don't really see this style anymore. I think it's akin to, like, when you go to any of the major, like, Christmas stores where they've got, like, Spam ornaments or, like, some other stupid ornament. True. Some consumerist ornament of, like, here, put this brand on your tree.
I agree, however, as someone who has always enjoyed seeing what the traditions of Christmas through the years have been, I will give this movie a little bit of credit here. The decoration choices, while not perfectly 40s or 30s, are close enough to match what I think people's memories in the 80s of their grandparents' trees looked like. Yeah. Because a lot of the ornaments picked would have been popular at the time. The lights that were used look about right with color placement. I have no doubt that none of this is, like, perfectly real. I'm sure they got just whatever they had and kind of, like, went with a general theme. Yeah. But it is interesting because this sort of decorating of a Christmas tree kind of, we see patterns in how we decorate for holidays, especially Christmas and especially Halloween, as what sort of patterns around, aka war, Great Depression, usually follow, and I will give this movie credit that they did pick pretty accurately what this tree probably sort of looked like. Is it perfect? No, we could have gone a little bit hammier since we're already crazily hammy and also weirdly product placey for stuff that you cannot buy anymore, like Little Annie's decoder ring. But they did try very hard to make this look like a time period appropriate tree. Yeah. Which was meant to be a classical tree, but like you said, because the times have changed, because the circumstances around our nation have changed, our trees look different now.
Oh, very much so. And I think that's fine because of when this movie said is it's supposed to feel dated. It's that Christmas memory. Exactly. I mean, hell, even the rushing to bed is like, it's something I remember as a kid where we would make a blanket fort to sleep in over Christmas. And
we set Santa traps. I tried very hard to catch Santa.
We did ghost traps, but we did those out of connects.
I should have known Santa wasn't real earlier, knowing that my parents were like, don't worry, we'll catch him. Yeah. I tried very hard. Our living room was a hazard.
Yeah, I mean, we made up stories of like, oh, we gotta go to bed because, oh, we see the elves poking their heads out of trees.
That's cute.
My brother's like, oh, I thought I heard a boomerang bounce against the window because he was obsessed with the boomerang, thinking Santa was gonna get him one.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if maybe you were visited specifically by the Aussie Santa or something.
That'd be great.
That would have been amazing. I would have had questions.
But also, like, watching this as an adult where, like, the parents are like, oh, yeah, you should get to bed. And they're like, now we gotta wrap everything.
Okay. I do know people who still are this way as far as wrapping gifts. The tree part, I disagree with a little bit. I think most families with kids are getting the tree a little bit earlier than the day of. But the wrapping one, I do know plenty of people who this is their everyday. This is their every occasion.
Procrastination.
This is why I've gotten so many gifts wrapped in Walmart bag.
Yeah.
And it's okay, I don't care, but...
Yeah. But that's the other thing, too, is, like, this is where the movie ramps up with, like, the good and interesting Christmassiness of it, with, like...
It ends on a really strong part.
Yeah, I like the speckled window transition that makes it dreamlike. The snow feels very special. Like
it looks good.
The last time we had a big snowstorm here last year, I remember driving out to the theaters or Barnes and Nobles in that general area. Yeah. And that road off of just by the Quick Trip that just like you go down it. Exactly. Everything was just beautifully frosted over.
It's so picturesque. And I think this is where most people truly remember the movie. They remember parts of the other because it is very vignette-y.
Mm-hmm.
But I think from here until the end, this is what people remember this movie for.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good bit of Ralphie just hunting for that one gift that he wants, whereas, like, his brother's, like, super eager to open anything he can get his fingers on.
I will say the only part to me, for my whole life, that has ever read unrealistic is the fact that Ralphie has to, like, try to wake his brother up. That child would have been awake at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
He's been sitting in his bed told he's not allowed out until his alarm clock goes off in an hour.
Yeah. Well, and also just, like, the clothes that you get from the people that you barely know, like the bunny costume of, like, the aunt still who buys it for him because she thinks he's a 4-year-old and a girl, but she's, again,
Yes.
childhood memory because...
Childhood memories. Because we all have an aunt who gets you clothes that don't match what you actually want.
Yeah, but she's also buying it for something of a size of a 9 or 10-year-old, but he's like, oh, she thinks I'm 4 years old. It's like, but she's buying it for your size.
Yeah. No, and as an adult, you look at that with, like, cuteness and fondness of, like, of course, your aunt remembers the one time when you were little and you liked bunnies and has forever bought you bunnies.
Yeah, simpler times, simpler gifts. It's created the iconic onesie from this movie.
It is very iconic. You can buy many a reproduction if you want.
Very much so. And I do think they do a good enough job of showing Ralphie pretending to be happy of, like, he didn't get that one gift he wanted.
And even once he gets the BB gun and unwraps it, I think this movie does a great job of finally giving you what you want with him shooting his eye out or thinking he shoots his eye out.
Yeah.
Making up a good cover story, which feels like the perfect final tall tale on a long list of tall tales.
Well, not just that, it's when the mom, like, kind of looks at him of, like, you really got him this. He's like, I had one as a kid. Like, there's this father-son moment that I wish they dived into more so than it did in just this one little bit.
I agree.
Because not only that, it's like, hey, you want a sip of my booze, kid?
It does feel like you want to try coffee, kid? Yeah, have a little sip. Your mom's not here. You can try it.
Or it's like, hey, I know you won't like this, but try it. But
yes.
it's that thing of, like, the father trying to connect with his son and the men never ever really growing up.
I agree, and I think from here until the very end, this last little bit is the part that, like, I think people vaguely remember, because this part is really strong. This part is perfectly Christmassy. It's wonderfully memory-based.
Yeah.
This is the strongest part of the movie by a long shot.
Yeah, I mean, hell, him, like, the childish trying to get out of, I wanted this thing, now I don't want it taken away from me, of, like, or trying to get out of trouble of, like, it was the icicle. Also, with the dad trying to sneak the little bites of turkey is a nice gag.
Yeah, this is by far the strongest part of the movie. I love it. The dogs return as turkey thieves.
But at the same time, yeah, I don't really care for that because, like,
the only reason is here is to get us to the Chinese restaurant. Yeah,
well, and the other thing I don't like about this bit, too, is when Ralphie breaks the fourth wall and winks at the camera.
The fourth wall breaking did not need to happen.
No. The one thing I did notice there's a couple weird things with this, too, is the mom takes the turkey out. It's like, no, you can't eat it. It still has an hour to cook. Why take it out? Why even give the opportunity for the dogs? How do the dogs get into the door when obviously you guys have been closing the door? Are there no locks on your house?
I do question how the dogs got in the house, because this is, again, winter, it is freshly snowed, close your door. I mean, you can barely start your furnace. Clearly we need to preserve some heat in here. I do think the dogs, mildly funny, but again, like, I could have lived my entire life without them in this movie at all, and the movie would have been the same, because I like old-timey recipes. This could have ended with her just accidentally making the driest turkey of all time.
Yeah.
Or like it falling on the ground, or something else going wrong.
Or in the Santa Claus, where he burns the turkey.
Yeah, literally any other, like, example of something going wrong. The oven not working and the turkey's still raw and they're all hungry.
It's just another way to close up another vignette that they've kind of left open.
Which, again, didn't need to happen, because we get to the Chinese restaurant from here. Yeah. This scene did not need to exist. I'm sorry. I know some of you think it's funny. I don't like it.
There are some parts I like of this.
Okay.
That I do find funny. Because I appreciate the dad making the best of it.
I do too. This is a better example of the father.
Now looking back at this, the Santa Claus does pull a lot from this, like taking the kids to Denny's. Like,
I mean, that was just a thing. That's just a divorced dad thing.
Yeah, but also, I have some questions.
Yes.
They're the only family there.
Which does seem a little odd, because I've eaten out on many a holiday, and I'm not the only one eating at that restaurant.
Are there no Jewish people in this area of Indiana, or are there no other Chinese people?
No Indian families that want to go out for dinner?
Yeah, also, did they ask them to sing? Because that's the other thing, too.
Okay, that is the part that really irks me.
Why is that?
Because it's the stupidest part of this movie.
Okay, so that's the thing. I think it's funny because I think the dad would have asked them to sing it in a way that's trying to, like, cheer up the mom. And,
sure.
And while you might come at the movie, some people might come at this movie because they don't say they're ours.
It's a little much, yeah.
It's a little much, but at the same time, Clark thought that, hey, they need to say they're ours, but the actor's like, no, this is fine. We really can't say our ours. So they're actually singing. And I
get it. I see it. Here's my main complaint about this scene is it took us 1,000,000 years to get to this scene to essentially play out a hyper trope of every other 80s Christmas movie.
40s.
Kind of 40s. There's a lot of, again, this style of, like, family-based, consumer-based Christmas movie, not really much of a thing in the 40s. The whole idea of, like, oh shit, something happened and we're going out for Christmas. The only restaurant being open is the Chinese restaurant Classic. Started in San Francisco, made its way nationwide. Of course, like, that's been a time-honored American tradition since the beginning.
Yeah.
But this idea of, like, oh, you fucked up, so you end up at the Chinese restaurant.
Eating Chinese turkey,
like,
which is just duck.
That's like such a hard 80s thing that it feels very strange for this movie.
Yeah, and it's like the mom being distraught by the duck head is just kind of stupid.
Yeah.
And like the kids don't really even care. And like the other thing with that too is the mom is so clearly laughing in this scene that it just kind of takes away of like what's supposed to be funny. Is like I get what you're saying. It ends up being kind of a stupid moment.
Especially because we just came off of arguably one of the best Christmas scenes of all time. It is incredibly classic. It nails all of the points that you want it to. A lot of the jokes that have been leading through this movie finally come to an end. This and the dogs, this isn't it. Yeah. This doesn't match the rest of the vibe of the movie.
Well, because that's the other thing too, is it goes from that to ending on Christmas night of the parents watching the snow fall and listening to the carols while the kids sleep with their blimpin' air rifle in their hand and drinking something strong to end the evening.
And that ending is perfect.
Yeah.
I didn't need, honestly, a lot of the vignettes that this movie sprinkled through.
No, very, very much so. And, like, that's the thing, too. I can also understand why this movie didn't do initially well.
I do, too.
Again, a couple hundred theaters it was released, but it made up in the VHS home media to the point that it now has 2 sequels. A Christmas Story 2 from 2012, which apparently everyone I've talked to says don't even think about that
I agree with them wholeheartedly.
And then a remake 3, or an actual direct sequel, which I think this kid comes back to play the parent.
I believe you're correct, yes.
And Christmas Story Christmas in 2022.
And I've seen that one as well. Meh?
And even though this one didn't do well, there's 3 more movies in the saga between A Christmas Story and A Christmas Story 2.
God damn. Yeah, okay, none of those needed to happen either.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. While I know we've bitched and griped a lot, this movie did do the thing that it set out to do, which was have us sit here and talk about memories of Christmas and family.
Yeah.
So, it did succeed.
It succeeded in little bits, and that's the one thing that I don't care for with this movie, too, is, like, on one thing they mentioned in the commentary is that they didn't want to make it too corny of a play on Americana. But
I disagree on them. I did not think they managed
100%, I agree. But my issue with this is it doesn't really feel like a Christmas movie for the most part. And yes, technically it is a Christmas movie around being the holidays and bringing the family together.
I mean, it's more of a Christmas movie than some of the movies we watch every year.
For the last, that by our definition, that makes it a Christmas movie.
I agree. And I think most people would qualify anything with snow a Christmas movie. I think their definition's even lower than ours.
Yeah.
So
And that's the thing is, like, the movie ends up just being more about Americana. When you look at something comparatively that's, I would say, in a very similar vein.
I know where you're going with this.
Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Which I'd argue is the better movie.
Yeah, it's a very similar subject matter. It's a dysfunctional family around Christmas time.
Yeah.
But almost every single vignette of Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is heavily Christmas-based in one way or another. Even if the joke isn't about being about Christmas.
Yeah.
Like when he's like hitting on the salesperson for the jewelry.
That's true. Yeah.
It's even though that's not that joke's not Christmassy, it comes back because his son comes around of like, hey, looking for something for mom? Yes, that makes it Christmassy.
I agree, and I also think it's interesting that both Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and this one are considered some of the top, if not one of a lot of people's top Christmas movies. I think it depends on your style of humor, if you are a Lampoon's house or a Christmas Story house. But both of them have a long-standing group of characters and movies that follow before and after this movie. It's well established beforehand. Granted, those are both most people's number, like, the one they remember is the Christmas version of both of these franchises. And I think both people argue on which one is the more popular one. I think it kind of comes down to what sort of thing are you willing to overlook? Dumb humor versus, honestly, some misses in storytelling style.
Yeah, I think you get to a good point there where it's like, what did you grow up with? Like when
I agree.
When I talk to people of like Christmas movies, like A Muppet Christmas Carol,
My Heart, My Love,
Charlie Brown Christmas Story. There's all these like Christmas movies
classics
that people grew up with that they absolutely love.
Yep.
But I never got into them. My parents didn't push it on me because one, they weren't really into Charlie Brown to begin with, so or the Muppets either.
But also a lot of this comes back to it was on TV. We didn't own these movies. And you guys had a different setup for that.
We owned Christmas Vacation on VHS. I actually have our family's Christmas Vacation on VHS.
And I think a lot of families own maybe one or two Christmas films that they are like, that's the one. Lampoon's is obviously a classic. This one is another. I think a lot of people also own like White Christmas or something along those lines, like a quote-unquote classic one. But a lot of these ones that we have all been agreed on is the classic movie. I watch it every year. Do you watch it every year, or do you find it and stream it because it used to be on ABC for 12 Days of Christmas?
Exactly. And that's the thing, too, is like all these evolutions of like traditions and whatnot. Like, you've met my mom.
I have.
How very sweet
she is. Incredibly sweet, yes.
You know she doesn't like horror, right?
I do. I know that because you keep trying to make her watch horror.
I know. It's not try. I do make her watch horror.
She is very patient and loving.
Guess what's in her Christmas rotation now?
I have no idea.
Violent Night.
That's a great movie.
It is great.
But yeah, it's not a classic I would have picked for her.
Yeah, it's now in her rotation because she actually really likes that movie, and I was very shocked that I'm not shocked she liked it because there is horror that I've gotten her that she likes or understands. Yes. But for that to be in a Christmas rotation to like that much.
I mean, I'm so proud that she's expanding her horizons. But I also think that we have reached an interesting time, and this movie's a great example of it. This movie, for a long time, was the #1 standing Christmas movie. Hell, it played 24/7 on several channels, not just for one day, which some channels did, but for multiple days. Marathoning nothing but this movie for multiple days is crazy talk. Yeah. However, a lot of people have grown up with different traditions, different looking houses, and different looking Christmases to the point where a lot of people aren't seeing the nostalgia of this movie, and the way that we all now consume and consider classic holiday movie traditions has changed too. A lot of us don't have cable anymore. So if we are watching a movie, it's either because it's a classic that we like from our childhood, we're going out of our way to either pay to rent it, or buying it on DVD, or we're watching streaming movies, which is a perfectly good way. That's where a lot of those silly Hallmark ones, I know a lot of people consider that their tradition to watch A Christmas Prince or some bullshit like that.
Yeah.
Or the other one that I've noticed a lot is people are watching movies that aren't strictly Christmas movies. Harry Potter is a very popular one for people to rewatch every year. It has a singular Christmas scene.
Well, I think it's not just necessarily that. Part of it is, at least for my family, is what did we watch when I went to go see a movie around Christmas that time?
Exactly.
And it was either like Harry Potter for a while, Lord of the Rings,
Lord of the Rings is a classic, yep.
So it was those kind of movies that we watched around those holidays that made it the holiday movie, because we actually took the time as a family to go out and see the movie together.
Exactly. And so while this movie, I'm sure, will maintain its reign as a classic Christmas, because, again, people love it, it is a nostalgic film, and honestly, even though we've ratted on it, and I know you still hate it, it is a good film. It's well done, it's well acted, it's well written, it hits a lot of the notes that a lot of people are looking for a Christmas movie.
So is that your rating? Is it a good movie, Chris, on the good, bad, weird scale?
For me, it's a mix. It's
Okay.
a good, bad for me. Because while I see a lot of people's like of it, and I do think that there are parts that are very, very well done, I think they are unfortunately off-balanced by parts that if you are truly watching this film with an eye, they're not good. This has too many vignettes, it is weirdly all over the place despite supposedly having all these through jokes and lines. It's a very mixed bag.
Well, maybe it's not too many vignettes. It's too many vignettes that don't tie it back to Christmas 100%.
I totally see that, and while I probably will watch this movie again...
Oh, it's not you will watch it. You are going to watch it because of Brian.
Probably. But our Christmas traditions are changing. It's a classic for him because it reminds him of watching it with his family. But if I point out, like, why don't you put something on, he tends to pick other movies. His favorite currently is Elf. He thinks that one's the best. So, we watch that.
A solid choice, though.
Yeah, so, like, I think while a lot of people will continue to have this be their number one pick, for me and my house, it's not our number one pick, and I don't know if it's even in our top 5.
Yeah, for me, I know I'm probably not going to surprise a lot of people, but for me, this is still a bad. Well, I see that there are moments in it. I can't stand this movie.
Sure.
Sorry if you like it. I have tried multiple times, but it just isn't for me. I get it's supposed to be people's nostalgia. I think maybe that's it, because it's not my nostalgia. Clark said that it's really going to stand the test of time in the commentary, but I don't think so. My childhood was only a decade later. Not even a decade later.
Yeah.
Over a decade. I mean, I was born in 91, so 8 years after this movie came out. But, and I do see some similarities, but there's not enough to really tie it back. And I think part of that is so much time are changing. And also, I did not grow up with this movie. And there were just so many moments that the humor's not for me.
Sure.
It's all over the place. And I can't get into it. It bores the shit out of me. And I find everyone in it, for the most part, pretty annoying.
And honestly, I know people are going to argue, but I think you're not the only one. I think more and more people are having the same experience as you. They didn't really watch this as a Christmas movie growing up. They don't relate to it very well. And hell, even though I do relate to multiple scenes in this movie, it's not like a Christmas story. It just reminds me of my family during different scenes.
Yeah.
Which, fun, does do what it's supposed to as far as getting you nostalgic over something, but yeah, I see where you're coming from. Is like, if this wasn't what your Christmas looked like, this movie's probably not for you.
No. So then do you recommend A Christmas Story?
I mean, yes, because I think broad brush speaking, a lot of people will find the humor in this funny. They will enjoy and see different aspects that will remind them of different parts of their family, and I do think it does succeed in making you reminisce about your family and Christmas at different points in different ways throughout the film. So yes, if you haven't seen it, do give it a watch. This might be for you. It's not a perfect film, but honestly, most Christmas movies aren't, so why not?
Yeah, no, I feel you there. On a personal level, I cannot recommend this movie.
I understand.
But I also say go make up your mind yourself on this one. I can see where some people are going to relate to it, have fun with it, find it funny. Make up your mind with it, or at least go watch it just to say whether you like it or not. It's a Christmas classic for a reason, and I understand that. I just emphatically hate this movie from the core.
I hear you.
I think part of it too is, one, it's just all over the place. And 2, it's the fudge scene, and just the more I think about it, it's way over for me. So.
No, I get it. I totally get where you're coming from. I know if people are really into it, that's gonna sound crazy, but I think maybe we're watching it through some rose-tinted glasses at times.
I'm looking at their shit tinted glasses or fudge tinted glasses.
Fudge tinted glasses.
Yeah. Yeah, but A Christmas Story. And while I may not sound like I'm fully in the holiday spirit.
It doesn't, yeah.
I am.
Okay.
I am. We do have some questionably family holiday movies ahead.
That's true, we sure do.
And we do have one coming up that I'm excited for that many question whether it's a holiday movie or not. But I have some very strong words, and I've come across some other aspects of it that I think I can argue make it a Christmas movie.
I'm excited to hear those arguments.
Yeah. So, anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Peace.
Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.